Hey, welcome back, knife nerds and everyday care people. It's your boy, the Big Canucker here, and I got myself a knife review here of some that, when I first glanced at it, it caught my eye, but I wasn't really like 100% sure about it until I actually saw it in person, and then I actually totally felt in love with hello. I totally fell in love with the knife. I think it's an absolutely wonderful piece of steel. And here, what we're going to be talking about today is we're going to be talking about the Spyderco Spyopera. Now, when I was helping out Alberta Firearms and Alberta Variety there, the Spyderco store here in Fort Macleod, I ended up seeing this, and I just had to put it in my pocket. It was absolutely gorgeous. So let us go and have a look at this on the tabletop, and we will check it out. All right, so the reason I think I'm going to take this off. I'm allowed to take off my little finger cast here now and work with it without my cast on for 2 to 3 hours a day. And then I got to do that for the week, and then hopefully it'll be gone next week. So let's get rid of that ugly cast for this video. All right, so this is, I think, an absolutely gorgeous piece of cutlery. A lot of people may not feel that way, but to me it is. And sometimes you have knives that just catches your eye and you just like everything about it, and this is one of those knives. Now, I am not a kind of a lock back type of guy. I mean, I really like the cool locks. I like the access lock, the ball bearing lock, the compression lock. Those are kind of my things here, but this back lock is just not as fidgety and flicky as some of the other locks, but it just didn't matter to me. I really fell in love with this knife and the feel of it. So let's kind of go over a little bit about this here. So this is a utilitarian folding knife designed by Italian knife maker Max. So there's no other thing about him. I don't know much about him, but it is actually produced by Lion Steel in Italy. And it does have some real Lion Steel trademarks to it, which we'll kind of go over. And it's a wonderful piece of cutlery. So let's put this down and we'll do a little bit of a size comparison because it is a smaller knife. Here we have your Paramilitary 2 in the Crew Carta. And then I also have this case. This is a case, so that gives you an idea. And that seems to be, kind of the, your lock back, traditional type size. So it's very similar to that case. And you can see that it's quite a bit smaller than the Paramilitary 2, but it is a really functional knife. So let's kind of get this out of the way here, and let's talk about this. And let's kind of talk about this with this case lock back kind of in there. Now, just technically, let's go over the technical specs real quickly. All right. So the overall length is 6.9 inches long. Your closed length is 4 inches or 102 millimeters. Your blade thickness is 3 mils. And you got a tip up only, left or right. Your blade length is 2.9 inches or 74 millimeters, so it is just a sub 3 inches, so it's a safe carry in a lot of places. Your edge length is 2.72, so I don't know. You're not losing a whole lot here, and you've got a little bit of a belly here. This edge length, I think I would measure that again. I think they may have just taken from here to there to measure that 2.72 without taking into account the belly. You've got lots of edge length there. All right, so your handle is a beautiful canvas micarta that's been smoothed out. And of course, it is a back lock. It's made in Italy, so that I'm not sure about the Lion Steel fit and finish, but this one here has been excellent. And they use top quality materials. I'm really impressed with this. And of course, we've got a M390 steel, which is a total super steel. And now people out there absolutely love this. Now, the one thing, this did come from Lion Steel, not as sharp as the Spyderco knives that come from Taiwan or Golden, Colorado. Those knives can cut time and space, where this one was an acceptable edge, but it wasn't a Spyderco edge. So I ended up taking my KME system on here. And as you can see, I put a mirror polished edge on here using my Veneve stones, and it is extremely sharp. It is, definitely, it's definitely shaving sharp, close to hair whittling sharp on this knife right now. Now, of course, they say it's a fully flat grind, but there is a little bit of a kind of a shoulder right here, right? So, it does have a little bit of a kind of a very, very tall saber. It's kind of almost like a hybrid grind. We've got completely flat in the front here, but on the back end, you don't have completely flat all the way. Now, I've had some customers. I watched a video here where the guy said it was incredibly thin behind the edge. I don't think it is as thin as, say, something like this Gale Bradley here with this kind of edge here. This Gale Bradley here, even though it is, and it seems like that's what kind of brought me to this. It seems like it's a very, very similar to the Gale Bradley grind on the entire thing, where this is a hollow grind, but this is kind of a flat grind saber. And I think the cutting performance on the Spyopera suffers just a tiny bit because of it. It does lend it to be a more stout blade, but like when I was cutting through some cardboard, it would go through, for most of the blade, but then you get somewhere around the back here, it's a little bit thicker, and sometimes it would just snag just a little bit. And that was on, some of this cardboard with almost like a paper covering on the outside. So I'm not sure if it was the type of the covering or if it was completely the cardboard, but it did snag and just kind of, when you're cutting through cardboard and you've got a straight, perfect, crisp line, you know that knife is sharp. Well, this one did have that straight, crisp, perfect line, but the odd little spot, it would kind of bunch a little bit and tear rather than cut. And I attribute that to being just a tiny bit behind the edge, being just a little bit thicker. But I mean, this is absolutely a gorgeous knife just to look at and also to feel, all right? And that's why I have this case out here. This case here is one of my absolute favorite prized possessions in a knife. And I don't really use this as much as I should, but because, it doesn't have the top of the line steel. It's got, the case stainless steel on here, which is okay cutting, but it doesn't hold an edge forever. It is, made in the USA, and so some people don't think that that's the best, quality and yada, yada, yada. I just think it's an excellent, excellent knife, and I love the feel of it. I love the smoothness of it, and I love the little, the chrome nickel bolsters here. I love the shiny chrome blade on it. I love the fact that this black is smoothed out. Those are the things I love about this knife, and that is, one of the things I love about this Spyopera. Like, again, here you have one of these, my boy gave me for Christmas. What do they call this? WS. Oh, I wish I could remember Greg's last name for what his name of his company is. But Polson, yes, it's a Greg Polson custom. And then of course my son Gregor really, really helped with the smoothing out, and it's got that real smooth, rounded off feeling all over the place, and it's just a joy to hold. And that is part of the thing I love about this Spyderco Spyopera. The canvas micarta handles are radiused. As you can see that they've got like that roundness to them. The spine of the knife is completely radius too as well, along with the back spacers here, as well as the lock back too as well. They're all completely rounded, so there's no real crazy sharp edges on here. Inside here, the edges here have all been finished too as well. So there's no, because sometimes you can grab some of these knives, something like even this one here, where this inside edge is kind of sharp. And this jimping was crazy sharp too as well. And I ended up hogging this out a little bit, and I took a Dremel and I lightly hit a Dremel with that just to take that down, because it was snaggy on your fingers, where there's really nothing on here that's really kind of snaggy for your fingers. Even the clip here too as well. You've got the wire clip, that's a deep carry clip, so there's very, very little sticking out of the end here. So it's got really no crazy hot spots. Like, it still does cut wonderfully. This is a wonderfully cutting tool. And with the M390, it'll cut forever too as well. Great stainlessness, great toughness, great edging holding ability. M390 is one of the best steels that are out there. So there is ball bearings on here, which is a funny thing for a lockback knife, but as you can see that it is drop shut, and you have to watch out where your fingers are placed. So you notice how I had my fingers quite far back, because there is no real kind of ricasso to think of there, where it'll just cut right into your fingers. If your fingers are too close, it's going to cut into them, especially on the edge that I have on here right now. So lots of times I'll usually just kind of back it up and then, just let it fall, and it'll fall straight down, and then I close it. That's one of the things. It will Spidey flick too as well. and it will also Spidey flick that way, and of course on camera. There we go. Now, there is a little bit of a stick when you close this sometimes, as you can hear, you can kind of hear it click. Here, listen. So there's a little bit of a click there. Hopefully that'll kind of go away. Now they do use absolutely, totally top of the line materials on this knife, totally. So you've got the M390 blade. Now your screws here are actually titanium too as well. Now your backspacer here is steel, but your lock back is steel. And I would imagine that is mostly for strength and because you want steel on steel. But here you've actually got titanium backspacer, top of the line material. You've got the wire clip, which is easily the most desired clip in Spyderco land, including with the long, with the deep carry portion of it. And you do also have a little tiny lanyard in here that barely fit my leather lanyard in there. It just barely fit it in there. And as a matter of fact, when I was pulling it through, it was a bunch of little leather shavings coming off it. So it is quite a bit small, but it is there. And it's very unobtrusive too as well. So if you don't like your knives with a lanyard hole in them, well, this one here is almost invisible too as well. So, I mean, about the only thing that's a little bit kind of goofy on this knife is just this little edge right here. It just seems, to me, that's the only part of this knife that I have just a modicum of an issue with. It just looks a little bit weird. But once you close this up, and even taking into account, if you're a Spyderco guy, you're used to having that hump there too as well. And it does give you some really good ergonomics. You know, there's no jimping there, but I mean, this knife here is not going to be used to, you know, break down the carcass of a moose. And you don't have to get into the old spine knuckle there to, you know, to crack the spine in half because you're quartering up this moose to carry it out of the bush. This is not the knife that's for. This is the knife to put in your pocket on a Saturday night. And it has invariably found its way into my pocket, and it stayed there for the last couple of weeks. I think this is a wonderful, wonderful blade, and I'm totally in love with it. Now, I'm going to give this a 9 out of a 10. I like it that much. I think the only little tiny knock on it is just this little bit here, and that could be just because it is a lock back with this mating surface has to be that way, but to me that's the only part that looks just a tiny bit unfinished. But other than that, absolutely fantastic. Oh, the one thing I forgot to say that is only 2.7 ounces, so it is extremely light too as well. So love this knife. It's gonna stay in my pocket, and it's gonna stay in my collection for an awfully long time. Now it is, you know, MSRP on this in the US is $262. I'm not sure what the street price is. I think it's right around $180. And to me, I think that's worth it. I mean, I think that this is a wonderful, wonderful knife from a fine maker. And I think it's got top quality materials. And I think that you can't go wrong with this to put this inside your collection, especially if you like kind of the smaller knives. Now this is, yes, even though it's only 4 inches long, I'm still able to get a 4-finger grip on it, and it fits in my pocket, or it fits in my hand. So I'm right down to the thing. So you can also even get on there. You've got that hump on there. You can do some real fine work with it. So yeah, 9 out of 10 for me. Now, appreciate you guys stopping by. If you like what you saw, please don't forget to give me the old thumbs up as well as subscribe. Help me to spread my voice out there. Meanwhile, my voice is going away. Now we're not out of the woods yet, so I want you guys out there to please stay safe. Keep your stick on the ice. Keep the shiny side up. This is the Big Canucker saying adios.